For most of her childhood, Ayla Moreno was known as the quietest, kindest girl in Willow Creek. She grew up in a small brick house at the end of Maple Street, where everyone knew everyone. She spent her afternoons helping her mother, Rosa, in their little bakery, and her evenings doing homework at the kitchen table while her father, Daniel, listened to old radio programs. Nothing about Ayla's life seemed unusual until the winter she turned 13. One cold December evening, a storm hit the town. Ayla was late coming home from school and Rosa waited anxiously by the window. When Ayla finally walked through the door, she was drenched, shivering, and strangely silent. Rosa expected her to complain about the freezing wind or missing the school bus, but Ayla didn't speak at all. She simply stood in the doorway, staring straight ahead with eyes that seemed darker than before, almost as if a shadow had settled over them. That night, things took a disturbing turn. At 2:17 a.m., Ayla let out a scream so sharp and unnatural that it jolted the entire neighborhood awake. It sounded like it came from somewhere deep inside her, layered with another voice, a voice that didn't belong to a child. Daniel rushed into her room and found her sitting upright in bed, trembling violently. Her eyes rolled back as if she was looking at something behind her eyelids. Over the next week, Ayla's behavior changed even more. She refused to eat meals, claiming the food smelled rotten, even when it was fresh. She stopped responding to her parents, often staring at corners of the room as if she saw figures no one else could. At school, teachers noticed she scribbled symbols and strange drawings instead of doing her assignments. When one teacher gently touched her shoulder to get her attention, Ayla whispered in a language no one recognized. Doctors ran tests. Therapists asked questions. Everyone came to the same conclusion: stress, trauma, maybe early signs of a mental disorder. But nothing explained why Ayla's voice sometimes dropped into a deep tone, or why she seemed terrified of hearing a prayer, or why she once told Rosa what she had been thinking before she said a word aloud. The final sign came one night when Ayla, half asleep, muttered, "You shouldn't have let me in, now I won't leave." And from that moment, the 7-year nightmare began. What began as strange behavior inside the Moreno house soon spread far beyond its walls. It was as if whatever had taken hold of Ayla wasn't satisfied with her alone. It wanted the entire home, and eventually the entire street. For weeks, Rosa and Daniel tried to pretend everything was normal. They kept Ayla inside, homeschooled her, and avoided conversations with neighbors. But the disturbances grew so intense that hiding them became impossible. Every night the lights in the hallway flickered exactly at 3:03 a.m. No matter how many times the bulbs were replaced, the flickering returned. Then the sound started. Footsteps echoed across the wooden floor, slow and heavy, even though Ayla's room was locked. Daniel kept the key in his pocket at all times, but the footsteps moved freely, as if the house itself had come alive. Rosa would hear whispers behind her when she washed dishes, soft, cold hissing sounds that stopped the moment she turned her head. One evening, while Ayla was sitting silently at the table, every cabinet door in the kitchen flew open at once. The loud bang made Rosa drop a tray of cups. Ayla didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. She just stared forward, her hands resting still on the table as if she had expected it. Neighbors began noticing things too. Dogs barked wildly whenever someone walked past the Moreno home. Children refused to ride their bikes down the street. Someone claimed he saw Ayla standing outside at midnight, staring straight at his window. Yet Daniel swore she had been locked inside her bedroom the entire time. The police were called twice. The first time, they checked the house, suspected stress or teenage rebellion, and left quickly. The second time, an officer named Mark Henson entered Ayla's room while she was asleep. Moments later, he came running down the hallway, pale and shaking. He refused to say what he saw, but he immediately requested a transfer and never returned to the neighborhood again. Inside the house, the situation worsened. Chairs moved on their own. Doors slammed even when the windows were closed. A deep, unsettling growl echoed from Ayla's room on some nights, low, animal-like, impossible for a human to produce. Rosa tried praying over Ayla's bed, whispering Bible verses with trembling hands. But the moment she spoke the name of God, Ayla's eyes snapped open and a voice, not hers, growled, "Stop that." The haunting was no longer just inside Ayla. It had claimed the entire home, and it wasn't done yet. As months turned into years, the evil presence attached to Ayla only grew stronger. What started as whispering, strange behavior, and flickering lights slowly turned into a daily battle for survival inside the Moreno home. By the second year, Rosa stopped working at the bakery. Daniel boarded up most of the windows. Friends stayed away. Family members refused to visit. It was as if the Morenos had disappeared from Willow Creek. But inside, the battle continued every day. Ayla's body changed too. There were moments when she seemed perfectly normal, laughing softly, asking for tea, or reading her old storybooks. But those moments were rare and unpredictable. Most days, she barely behaved like herself. Her voice would change without warning. Her eyes would go completely black. Sometimes she spoke about events that hadn't happened yet. Other times, she spoke about things she couldn't possibly know, people's secrets, private fears, long-forgotten memories. During the third year, things reached a terrifying level. Ayla started losing time. She would wake up in the hallway or on the couch with no memory of how she got there. Rosa once found her standing in the backyard at dawn, barefoot, staring at the woods with a blank expression. When Rosa gently pulled her back inside, Ayla whispered, "He wants to take me there." No matter how many security locks Daniel installed, Ayla always found a way to appear in places she shouldn't be. Sometimes Daniel woke up to find her standing at the foot of their bed, watching them sleep. Other times, Rosa found scratched symbols on the walls, deep marks etched by Ayla's fingernails, symbols no one recognized. By the fifth year, the activity in the house became violent. Plates shattered without being touched. Objects flew like someone was throwing them. The family heard angry voices arguing in empty rooms. Daniel was pushed down the stairs once, though no one was near him. Rosa developed insomnia, too afraid to close her eyes at night. The saddest part was Ayla herself. When she was aware, she was terrified. She begged her parents not to leave her alone. She cried, saying she could feel it inside her, something cold, angry, and ancient. But the moments when she was truly Ayla became fewer and fewer. By the seventh year, Rosa feared they had already lost their daughter, but she refused to give up. Deep in her heart, she believed there had to be a way to save Ayla, even if no one else believed it. After 7 long years of fear, exhaustion, and unanswered questions, Rosa reached her breaking point. She could no longer watch her daughter suffer, nor could she continue living inside a house that felt more like a battlefield than a home. Daniel wanted to call doctors again, maybe even take Ayla to a hospital far away. But Rosa knew this wasn't something medicine could fix. Something deeper and darker was holding Ayla hostage. One evening, during a rare moment when Ayla seemed calm, Rosa asked her gently, "Sweetheart, can you tell me what's happening to you?" Ayla stared at her mother with empty eyes, then whispered, barely audible, "It's not me. It lives here. It wants us all." That night, a violent storm began outside, something Willow Creek hadn't seen in years. Lightning tore across the sky. Thunder shook the walls. But inside the house, something far worse was happening. At exactly 2:59 a.m., Ayla's screams exploded through the hallway. Daniel rushed to her room, but the door slammed in his face so hard that the wood cracked. Rosa ran toward him, terrified. Through the door, they heard 2 voices screaming at once, one painfully human, the other deep and monstrous. Suddenly, the house shook. Picture frames fell. Lights shattered. A chair slid across the hallway on its own. Daniel tried to break the door, but something pushed from the other side with inhuman strength. Inside the room, Ayla was trapped in the center, her body arching unnaturally, her fingers digging into the floorboards. A deep growl echoed around her, circling like a predator. Her hair lifted as if pulled by invisible hands. Her skin turned pale, almost gray. Rosa grabbed a small wooden cross from her dresser, the same cross she had held when Ayla was born. Even though she felt powerless and terrified, something inside her, love, faith, desperation, gave her the courage she hadn't felt in years. She raised the cross, pressed her hand against the shaking door, and shouted with all the strength she had left, "You cannot have my daughter." At that moment, a force slammed her against the opposite wall, knocking the breath out of her. The hallway lights exploded, raining glass. Daniel screamed her name, but Rosa pushed herself back up, trembling, because she knew something important. This would be the final night. Either the darkness would take Ayla forever, or Rosa's fight would finally set her daughter free. The house felt like it was tearing itself apart. Every wall throbbed with dark energy, every window rattled as if trying to escape. Rosa could barely stand, but she forced herself down the hallway, gripping the wooden cross so tightly her knuckles turned white. Daniel tried to pull her back, terrified she would get hurt, but Rosa shook her head. "If I don't do this, we lose her." With a strength she didn't know she had, Rosa pushed the cracked door open. A freezing wind blasted her in the face. The room was pitch black except for flashes of lightning slicing through the window. In the center of the room, Ayla floated a few inches above the floor, her back arched, her limbs stiff and trembling. Her hair whipped around her like it was underwater. Her eyes, not her eyes anymore, locked on Rosa. A deep, unnatural voice growled, "She is mine." Rosa stepped forward, her legs shaking, tears streaming down her face. She held the cross in front of her with both hands. "You've taken her voice, her childhood, her peace, but you will not take her soul." The moment she spoke, the presence inside Ayla reacted violently. The room erupted in a swirling vortex of wind and shadows. Books flew off shelves. The ceiling fan spun so fast it whirred into a blur. Daniel, unable to enter, held onto the doorframe as the force pushed him back. Ayla's body dropped suddenly, hitting the floor with a cry. The voice snarled louder, angrier than ever, wrapping around the room like a storm. Rosa fell to her knees beside her daughter and wrapped her arms around her. For 7 years she had prayed silently, cried quietly, begged internally. But in this moment, something inside her burst open. She pressed the cross to Ayla's chest and prayed out loud with a power she didn't know she had. "God, please save my child." For a split second, everything stopped. No wind, no sound, no movement, just a heavy, suffocating silence. Then a soft glow surrounded Ayla's body, spreading like warm sunlight. A scream tore from her throat, the last scream the entity would ever make. The darkness shrieked, recoiled, and then vanished in a blast of cold air. Ayla went still. Rosa held her breath, terrified. Then Ayla's eyes fluttered open, and for the first time in 7 years they were her eyes, soft, brown, human. "Mom!" Rosa broke into sobs, hugging her daughter with every ounce of strength left in her. Daniel rushed in, crying openly. The nightmare was over. A single, desperate prayer had done what medicine, experts, and fear could not. It brought their daughter back, and the darkness never returned again.